With a few exceptions, most US cities west of the Mississippi have built two kinds of transit: light rail and commuter rail. Light rail lines tend to cluster nearer to a city center, and commuter rail lines stick out further. But there's one glaring exception to this rule, and that is Denver, Colorado. Its commuter and light rail lines are pretty similar in length, and that's because Denver's commuter rail is anything but typical for the western United States. The city has frequent, all-day electrified commuter rail with frequent stops. With its choice of equipment and design layout, Denver's commuter rail bears striking resemblance to commuter rail systems on the eastern seaboard, perhaps most notably Philadelphia's. That's right, Denver is building SEPTA. But since this is a brand new build, I wondered, in the process of construction, did Colorado improve the SEPTA model? I headed to Denver to find out. Okay, I gotta love this underground concourse. Not only does it serve Greyhound, it also serves local city buses. I've got myself a My Ride day pass. How the day pass works, I believe, is you put like $10 on your card, and then your first journey costs you $5, your second journey costs you $5, and then you've maxed it out or something like that, and then it's a day pass. It was a little confusing when the woman who sold me this explained it, but I think I got it. So, annoying thing about these screens, they list light rail departures and they list bus departures, but I don't see any commuter rail information, even though the commuter rail platforms are literally right up there. To know where we're going, let's take a look at the map. Downtown Denver is located at the foot of the Rocky Mountains, with Union Station on its north side. The local transit operator is called the Regional Transportation District, or RTD for short. Commuter rail lines exclusively radiate to the north of the city, at least for the present. The G line serves the suburbs of Wheat Ridge and Arvada, while the B line interlines with the G line before branching off to a terminus at Westminster, sandwiching Berkeley in between the two lines. The N line heads to Thornton, passing the National Western Center and Commerce City in the process. And last but certainly not least, the A line serves Denver International Airport, making stops in the municipality of Aurora, as well as serving a redevelopment area on the site of Denver's former Stapleton Airport. Coors Field, home of the Colorado Rockies, is right next to Union Station, providing extra traffic for the trains during home games. So here we have Denver's historic Union Station head house, and then over here is the big, modern, airy train hall for the new commuter rail system. Now these trains might look familiar if you're from Philadelphia. They are, in fact,
passengers, book our cancellation and departures at www.rtd-denver.com.
We make you do your own research!
Attention passengers, the following trips are canceled. Departure at 2:15 p.m. and 4 p.m. departure from Union Station.
So that was a rather unhelpful announcement. Essentially, it's saying, certain trips are canceled, but it doesn't tell you which line. And then basically it tells you to do your own research. Anyway, as I was saying, these trains are actually Silverliner 5s, the same trains that SEPTA recently ordered for their fleet. So here's a good top-down view. You got the two tracks here that are electrified, two for Amtrak, and two more for the commuter rail. So now, without further ado, let's ride every single line of the Denver commuter rail system and see what we think. It looks like our first train of the day is going to be the N line. Let's get on board. Or not. Okay. There we go. The inside feels a lot like a Silverliner 5 on SEPTA, but there is no filmer window.
Welcome aboard RTD Commuter Rail.
So the driver just made an announcement that this is not, in fact, the airport train. I kind of wonder how many people have gotten on this train thinking it's the one to Denver Airport. The N line is Denver's newest commuter rail, having opened in September 2020. It's also the only line operated directly by the RTD, as the other three are operated by Denver Transit Partners on behalf of the agency. The line follows shared BNSF Union Pacific trackage northeast out of the city, and makes its first stop at 48th and Brighton, home of the National Western Complex. This hosts the National Western Stock Show every year, a livestock show which has been held since 1906. Almost the entire N line is single-tracked, save for trackage around stations, something that I worry is poor future-proofing, a bit at odds with Union Station's massive scale. At least the stations are consistently high platform. That's more than can be said for RTD's sister system back east. After 48th and Brighton, the line enters the Skyway Bridge. While most of the N line is repurposed right-of-way, the Skyway Bridge is new construction, and at 1.8 miles in length, it's the longest bridge in the state of Colorado, crossing BNSF and Union Pacific tracks, a stroad, an interstate, a reservoir, and a slew of industrial sites. On the other side of the bridge, we come to our second station in Commerce City, then make our way north. It quickly becomes clear that the N line is not exactly in transit-oriented turf. Stations are surrounded by a mix of single-family homes, parking lots, and straight-up empty fields. A man I talked to on the train tells me that the route is seldom crowded other than for Rockies games. Finally, we reach our terminus at East Lake 124th in Thornton. The line will hopefully be extended a few miles to the north eventually, but after this ride, I'm not holding my breath. I gotta say, riding this is very different than riding SEPTA, partially because Denver is just a very different city than Philadelphia. Denver is much more spread out. It's on this giant flat plain that allows a lot of sprawl, a lot of expansion, and so you really end up with more of a suburban rail to parking lots and single-family homes, less sort of dense streetcar suburb type places, sort of like Media. So this is an interesting crossing system. It's like a naturally closed gate, but then you pull it open and walk across the tracks. One wonders if this is technically an ADA violation because there's no mechanical way to open the gate. You have to open it by hand. There's a ramp up to the platform, but then you come down, and if you want to cross the tracks, you have to pull the gate open. So this is all nicely ramped and wide and accessible, but the gates are here as well, meaning you have to have the motor skills to pull a metal gate open, walk across the track, and then pull another metal gate open in order to get on the train, which is over there. So with 5 minutes to go until the train, let's see if there's a way to get to that platform without going through these gates. I'm slightly nervous that I'm going to miss this train. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Turn here, and there's another frickin' gate. Where's the Gang of 19 when you need them? They really should have thought that through. But I suppose that is a similarity to SEPTA, confusing gates at stations. Train departing in 1 minute. My legs are stiff and sore from falling while I was skiing. Whew, made it.
This train is departing to Union Station. Stand clear.
So why is Denver building electrified commuter rail in the first place? Well, it's all part of Fast Tracks, a multi-billion-dollar transit expansion program underway in the Denver area. Besides the 4 commuter rail lines, Fast Tracks has also led to the creation of 2 new light rail lines and extensions of several others, and the dramatic rebuild of Denver's Union Station. Pollution risks were cited as a reason to choose electrified rail, and this has also allowed fast, frequent service, especially on the high-intensity airport corridor. Denver is a sprawling, car-dependent city, a bit like Houston. Its geography lends itself to that, but with Fast Tracks, RTD hoped to move the city away from this. The results have been mixed so far, but more on that later.
This is Union Station, our final destination.
So the next B line is leaving just about now, but I'm gonna, oh, nope, there it is. And the next one's not for another hour, which is still pretty frequent by commuter rail standards. The B line is kind of the Kinwood line of the RTD. So next up, we're catching the G line, but that leaves in 15 minutes, so let's check out the head house of Union Station. Okay, the California Zephyr is having some problems. It's supposed to come in at 7:10 and it's coming in at 4:50 a.m. So, yeah. Okay, now for the G line, which I didn't give myself enough time to catch because I was charging my phone in the station. There is 2 minutes till it leaves. It's over there on the other side of the station. I think I'll make it. Looks like we've got a Spanish solution going on here. Boarding the G line, we head northwest, sharing tracks with the B line. The G was scheduled to open in 2016 alongside the A and B lines, but this was delayed until 2019 due to technical problems with the crossing gates. At Pecos Junction, the B line splits off to the north, and we continue west, following the tracks Amtrak uses for its California Zephyr. The scenery seems industrial and sparse, and I'm surprised to see people getting on the train at some of the stations. Where are they coming from? Then, at long last, we enter actual transit-oriented development at Arvada Old Town. This feels just a little jarring after the nothingness our train was going through. Also, fun fact, the G was named after gold discovered in the area back in 1850. Then we're back into suburban sprawl as we make our way to the end at Wheat Ridge Ward Station. And this is where things got a little weird while I was filming this. Once the platform cleared out, since most passengers weren't riding the G line just to ride it back to Denver, a gentleman whose brain was no doubt addled by substances accosted me, demanding my phone to call his mom, and threatening to beat me up if I didn't. More than a little rattled by this encounter, I decided to leave the station and walk to the next one, demonstrating the wonderful transit-oriented development along the G line. I'm grateful that this scenario didn't result in injury or loss of property on my part, but it was scary, and it's the sort of thing that could really turn people away from riding transit. And there's not a ton that transit agencies can do about it. It's a much bigger problem than that. At the very least, a friendly security officer on the train took my report, and I rode up to the Arvada Old Town station, only to find the same substance-addled gentleman on that platform. So I hopped back on the train and headed to Clark Creek Federal in search of food. So I'm noticing that some of the gates are a bit more wheelchair friendly. You just kind of push them like so, and they open right up. But some of them still have latches, like the ones that I ran into earlier, so a bit more consistency would be kind of nice. This is an improvement. Alright, mood is greatly improved. Chimango, 10 out of 10. Where was that for the last 24 years of my life? Now on to Westminster Station and the B line. You know your station is car-oriented when you look at the time, 6:35. Train leaves at 6:43. It's right over there, and you're not sure if you're going to make it. So we've got a massive parking garage over here. The train's over there. I'm not sure how you get to it. I really feel like they could have done the whole gates and walking across the tracks bit here. That would have saved me some time coming from the road. Ooh, echo! Subscribe to Classy Whale! The B line is currently the shortest of Denver's 4 commuter rail lines, serving a park-and-ride station in the south of Westminster. However, there are plans to extend this all the way to the cities of Boulder and Longmont, something that is currently projected to take over a decade to implement. There's an open question as to whether this will still be electrified commuter rail, or whether diesel power will be used instead. Presently, this corridor is connected by the Flatiron Flyer coach bus, created as part of Fast Tracks to provide interim service. And we're back at Union Station, way down the platform from the head house. But I guess that's how things roll around here. Things are just very far away from each other. Neon alert! And now, last but not least, the A line to the airport. The A line is the oldest, longest, and most popular route on the Denver commuter rail. While the line passes through various municipalities and areas of development, including the former site of Stapleton Airport and the municipality of Aurora, where passengers can transfer to a branch of the Denver Light Rail, the majority of passengers on this train are headed to Denver Airport. The route is 23.5 miles long, and much of the right-of-way parallels interstate highways and existing railroads. While these sorts of things helped connect population centers in St. Louis, Here in Denver, reused right-of-ways have often resulted in trains straying far from major population centers. Then at last, we're at the airport. And what a station this is! Featuring extra space for future tracks, a massive hotel complex, a bus bay, and easy access to the terminal, this is truly an exemplary airport station that other cities can learn from. And that brings us to the end of our ride. And while it's an improvement on its predecessor in terms of high platforms, frequent schedules, and treating its services like rapid transit, I unfortunately don't think that RTD has built a better SEPTA. For all of its flaws, SEPTA Regional Rail goes to places. When you ride something like the Medio Wawa line, you end up stopping every 50 feet in a different quaint little town with a beautiful old station. Contrast that with Denver, where the commuter trains don't really feel like they go anywhere, save for the airport and occasionally the baseball stadium. Alan Fisher has a great video where he goes into a lot more depth about land use around Denver's stations, so check that out if you haven't already. If anything, a trip to Denver helps you appreciate SEPTA more. But since Denver did do a few things right, it also shows what SEPTA could be.